Welcome to another episode of Cheers to Careers. I'm Steve Ridinghouse, the Career and Outreach Coordinator for the School of Journalism and Mass Communication. Today in studio, I'm fortunate to be joined by Missy Minear, Manager of Photography for KU Athletics. Welcome, Missy.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
So I know you started this role with your alma mater, KU. I think you said late August.
Yes.
I would assume it's your dream job or has to be close to it.
Yes, definitely. I mean, when I started photography, I already was a Kansas fan, grew up a Kansas fan. So I remember when I was in school here, seeing Jeff on the court in the field, and I just envied what he did, and definitely didn't think, excuse me, after 4 years I'd be back following in his footsteps and getting my dream job.
And I know right before you got this job, you worked in Indiana, I think in a similar capacity. So did you realize when you moved to Indiana that there was that potential to come back in this role?
Yes, and the job at IU was very similar to this one. I didn't think it'd be this quick. I knew Jeff was, because he had told me many times when I was in college that he was thinking about retiring. And so in the back of my mind, it was always kind of there, but I kind of thought it was a little bit of a pipe dream and thought, needed a few more years of experience before coming back, but here we are.
Now, do you remember the first time you picked up a camera?
Not the actual first time. I do remember shooting a lot in high school and just really not understanding what I was doing and the settings on the camera, none of that made sense to me. I was just pushing buttons and trying to get what I could get. But the actual very first time, I don't think I remember. My mom did a little bit of photography, was always taking pictures of me and my sisters. So that's kind of what got me into it a little bit, was seeing her do shoots with us and stuff.
So your mom was kind of your inspiration, or was there a certain photographer that really kind of kept you motivated?
It started with my mom, definitely. And then when I was in high school, starting to learn it, she was kind of learning along with me. And my dad was a basketball coach and a tennis coach at the high school, so I shot a lot of basketball games and tennis matches. And but as for an inspiration, I mean, Jeff Jacobson was definitely a big inspiration for me in college, great mentor to me. And so, yeah.
And where did you go to high school?
Windsor High School in Windsor, Colorado, small town in northern Colorado.
Now, in your role as manager of photography, how big is your staff? I know you do a lot of your work yourself, but do you have a team that reports to you?
I have 2 interns right now, both freshmen, and they've been fantastic, both very talented photographers, and definitely would not be able to keep up the way I do without their help.
And speaking of keeping up, I would assume it's always busy, but I would think Saturday had to be really busy with senior day and all the activities. I mean, how did you plan for an event like that? We planned to win, of course. So we had a game plan for post game. It was myself and one other photographer there. So it was kind of, we knew where we were going to be for senior day stuff, our positions for that, and then post game, the trophy celebration. It's so hectic in there. So I kind of just told him kind of run around, see what you can get. There's not really one specific place I need you to be. I just need you to kind of keep your head on a swivel and just see what's going on and what might make a good image. And so it's kind of, for that kind of thing, it's kind of hard to plan, excuse me, but you kind of just give him a little bit of instruction and hope for the best. Any idea how many photos were taken that day?
Taken?
Or published, or I don't know how you track all that.
I took probably almost 5,000 photos between senior day, the game, and trophy celebration. But I think I only ended up editing 225 or something like that. And then he did about the same as well. So almost 500 pictures from that game. It's a lot. And
I know this day and age, you can use those photos in so many different platforms, and with social media, posters, I know digital displays, they have the nice Hall of Fame. I mean, how do you manage all that?
I don't have a whole lot of, don't have a big hand in those, where the photos go. Social media, I have a little bit of a say, just because I work with our social team very closely. But as far as the billboards and the Hall of Athletics, I kind of just provide the best images and kind of let them, the experts, take it from there.
And I believe KU has 6 men's sports and 10 women's sports. I mean, I'm not going to ask what a typical day like, because I'm sure it varies, but can you say what a typical week or month or maybe a season's like?
It does vary, and season to season is also very different. It's a lot of shooting on weekends and evenings. But then during my week is a lot of archiving and captioning and keywording and make sure everything is in the right places. But then also we do a lot of photo shoots in the studio and headshots and practices. Like this morning I was at a football practice. So it just, every day is just a little bit different.
And I assume you like that?
Yes,
okay.
I do. Yep. I can stay at my desk for like a day or two at a time, but then I get kind of antsy and I need to be out doing something, and it helps break up the week.
So I don't know if you like both or not, but do you like more of the portrait setting or the more action or a combination of the two?
I like a combination. Studio photography is one area that really challenges me and kind of really pushes my creative boundaries. And it's just a good place to try things and fail a lot easier than like on the court, because if you miss the shot, like it doesn't necessarily happen again. Right. But definitely the action, like the emotion and the excitement and actual action, it's hard to beat that.
And I would assume you try to build those relationships with those student athletes. How tough is that process, kind of get that comfort level?
It takes time, yeah, and I definitely getting there with the teams here at Kansas. But they see me around all the time, and they kind of know that if she's around, there might be good photos of me. So I do try to get to know them and get them to trust me and know that when I'm around, I'm not going to try to get them doing something stupid, or I'm going to try to get them looking their best and doing their best, and that I'm there to help them and help their brand. And
have you given much thought? I mean, can you define a good sports photo, or is that kind of hard to describe?
It's hard to just pinpoint it down to one thing. I mean, in my personal preference, like my favorite photos, they all have a lot of emotion in them, and they tell a really good story. For instance, one of my favorite photos from Saturday's game is Jalen Coleman-Land's photo, or shot at the very end that didn't end up counting. But the photo with everyone watching it, trying to see if it went in, and all the facial expressions and the reactions, it's one of my favorite photos from the game just because there's so much going on in the picture. And it just really shows the emotion of the team and how bad they want it, both sides, Texas and Kansas. And yeah, that emotion that's my favorite part of a good photo.
Now, was that a photo you took yourself?
Yes.
Do you have a defining photo? I mean, is there one or two images that you think, this is my favorite photo so far? Has that happened yet, or are you still?
Yes, it changes just about every month, though. I think I constantly have new photos, and I'm like, oh, this is one of my favorite photos. But I have photos from my first couple years of doing photography that aren't necessarily the best photos I've ever taken, but they're my personal favorites because of the memories that come along with them. And so it's hard to just pick one or two photos that I think are my favorites. But
now, I know we talked about your time at Indiana, and I believe you had an internship with, was it the Mark Cuban? Yes.
So the department at IU is called the Mark Cuban Center.
Oh, that's what it is. Okay.
Yeah, it's the department within IU athletics.
Okay.
So yeah, they have a big internship program there, and I was fortunate enough right out of college to go be a post-grad intern.
So after you graduated from KU, you had that internship.
Yes.
And then it transitioned to a full-time position.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. And it was an incredible internship experience, and I loved my time at IU. But
so how did that experience, and then plus your daily Kansan, being on that staff, how do those roles prepare you?
Oh, I definitely would not be where I am without the experience that I gained in college at the Kansan. Just like the real life experience, it really is irreplaceable. And being at all the games alongside the professional photographers that have been doing it for years, you just learn so much. And I definitely would not have gotten to the next level without that experience and the photos that helped build my resume and my portfolio to get me there.
Now, were you on the Daily Kansan staff your entire time at KU?
Yes.
Okay.
I started just briefly after I came to Kansas, I think. It was like October of 2014, I guess it would have been, that I had started.
Now, I assume you've got a pretty busy week coming up with the Big 12 and, of course, NCAA tournament after that. Do you have your plan in place for that already?
Yes, for the most part. I will be traveling with the men for the Big 12 and the NCAA tournament, and then one of my interns will be traveling with the women to capture their run.
So when you come up with a plan for events like that, I mean, how does that process work? I mean, do you type it out on a sheet, here you go, or do you kind of brainstorm together? Or?
Yeah, I work with my boss and our SIDs in the department and our social media manager in the department, and we kind of just decide what our needs are and who is best to fill those needs. For the women, I'm fortunate enough to have, like I said, a couple interns, and to send one of them, it's going to be a great experience for them. But he's also a very talented photographer, so the women's team is going to get some good stuff as well.
When you try to build that staff, what are there certain things you look for? I mean, obviously the portfolio, but I mean, how do you kind of get a feel for, can this person do the job?
Yeah, I try to find young interns. Like I said, the two I have right now are freshmen, so hopefully I can hold on to them for 4 years. And when they're freshmen or sophomores, what I really look for is, do they just have a basic understanding of photography, but also the work ethic, because it is a lot of work. It takes patience to learn and to fail, and so I just want to know that they're willing to learn and they're willing to work, and the rest will come with doing it and just asking questions and being around. So I'm not looking for the best portfolio I've ever seen in my life. I'm just looking for someone who has interest in it and a basic understanding of how a camera works, and from there we can work together.
And from a scheduling standpoint, do you have, is it on your phone? Is it a document, a big whiteboard? I mean, how do you track the entire year?
I use a site called Trello, which is actually what we use the cans in.
Right.
And so that's where I got that from. And so, yeah, everyone has an account, and so we can just assign people to certain games and shoots, and it's just a nice way to keep it organized.
Okay. Do you have anything else to add before I let you go? I know you probably got a big assignment coming up.
I don't think so.
Well, Missy, I appreciate you joining us today. It's been fun to watch your career for the last, I guess, 4 years since you graduated? Hard to believe. But yeah, cheers to your career.
Thanks,
Missy.